Have you ever wondered why brands like KFC, McDonald's are popular among their consumers? Is it because of their product? Or is it because of their price? Or is it because they're within their reach? Something to think about. Hello, my name is Narmadi Fernando and I'm a student of the University of Hertfordshire who is pursuing an MSc in Business Analytics and Consultancy. I am presenting today the business proposal that I'm presenting for my client Leafy. And my presentation today will cover the evaluation and objectives of the project and the model testing plan that have been put in place to ensure the model is the best for Leafy, and also the criteria and the output and the outcome evaluation of my model. The client Leafy has been successfully in the industry of hospitality for about 10 years. They're serving a niche market which is more focused on having healthy meals from restaurants. And their mission is to make healthy taste good. At the initial stage of the project, we discovered that Leafy is hesitant to move out of their comfort zone. They're placed in St. Albans at the moment, but they have not been to a different geographical location just because they didn't have that financial confidence in themselves. So my project is building a model so that they can test before they move on to a new geographical location. This will take inputs from the customers of the potential geographical location and will analyze the data and will provide a revenue model which they can compare against their target KPIs. My project today is to build a model that will aid the financial decision and the strategic decision of Leafy to move to a different location and to explore a different location. If you can see my model here, I have tested this model through a real life population. I have tested in Hatfield, the geographical location, and I've taken about 0.1% as the sample for my test. I have collected the potential customer inputs through an online survey, which the survey outcome has been analyzed and had generated a sales forecast for about 6 months. This will ensure that Leafy has their target KPI and the potential KPI from this new location matched against each other. Yes, so before we start the survey, we analyze the current data of Leafy. So the survey was articulated in a manner that we question these areas from the potential customers of the Hatfield population. When we were analyzing Leafy's current data, we discovered that meal price being between £6 to £10 have driven their sales units more than the other price bracket. And also, if you can see the graph here, it's the coefficient between the sales units and the price being 6 to 10. It is as perfect as a close relationship between the two variables, and as you may see, 0.834 is the coefficient of these two variables, which is also evident by the survey output we just ran out for Leafy, which says more potential customers are willing to pay 6 to 10 pounds. That's about 75% of the customers are willing to pay 6 to 10 pounds for an average meal that is available at Leafy. Second prominent drive that we figured out was meals per week per customer. As you may see, the meals per week per customer and the sales units of the existing client base of Leafy shows again a almost perfect relationship between the two variables, which shows 3 to 5 times, which is the highest number of meals per week per customer, has a 0.86 coefficient versus the other frequencies like twice a week, once a month, shows a significantly lower coefficient. And also the survey that we just ran evident the same output, saying the clients of Leafy would more likely to come to the restaurant and have their meals 3 to 5 times per week. Customer loyalty is something that is valued by the businesses all around the world. Why? When it comes to Leafy, if you may see, the drivers of one of the key drivers of Leafy is being an existing customer. And if you may see the historical data of Leafy, units purchased by existing customers drives the sales units more than a new customer driving their units. Actually, it has a negative correlation when you analyze the historical data of Leafy. And when you take the survey output, it echoes the same. Success criteria is the most prominent question of this project because my client would like to know how I would rate the success of this particular model. I have taken two criteria, which is the forecast output and the survey collection area. To start with the survey collection area, if you may see, I have adopted a RYG model, which is the red, yellow and green model, which says if it's in the green zone to proceed, and if it's in the yellow zone to hold on and maybe do some adjustments before rerunning, and if it's in the red zone, no, it's not the choice for you. So let's see how we have categorized the response rate. The response rate, why does it matter? Because if the response rate is low, we might take a very biased survey output and we might make our decisions on the basis of that, which can be a failure. So if the response rate is below 25%, we cannot proceed with the data's output like that. Let's forget about it and let's move on. If the response rate is about between 25% to 60%, okay, you have a chance, but let's see if we can do some adjustments and rerun the survey and to get a better output. If it's above 60%, you have captured more responses and you have a more unbiased outcome because of the survey. Also, if you take the forecast output, again the RYG model is adopted, and if you start with the green model, which is the GO model, and if you see the revenue forecast for revenue KPI for Leafy is about 20%. So being a new restaurant and being a potential customer base, if the revenue forecast is 18% or more, I would say, Leafy, you should go ahead with this geographical location because it's more likely that you will succeed in this geographical location. But if the revenue forecast is between 10 to 17% of their sales growth, okay, maybe you have a chance, but let's do some adjustments, rerun, and let's verify once again. If it's in the negative or more closer to zero of the sales revenue, then please let's not go ahead with this decision and maybe move on to a different geographical location. So the primary success criteria of this project needs to be SMART, which is specific, achievable, timely, measurable, and realistic. Model adjustments and amendments. You would wonder why I wanted to do adjustments and amendments, but I didn't amend or adjust the output of this model, but I have adjusted the execution plan, which is generally a normal thing in a project like this. So the adjustments I made, it is to reduce the sample size from 1% to 0.1% because of the time constraints and because of the response being delayed by the respondents, and there could be a slight impact on the actual outcome, but I would rather say I have a quite strong sample size which evidently provide data for this model. Also, I want to build a fully automated model for Leafy so that it's conveniently being replicated whenever they want. But however, with the time constraints and the resource constraints, I was only able to do a semi-automated model, which doesn't have an impact on the overall outcome of the model, but rather it will be inconvenient for them to replicate in the long run. My client's management team is not coming from a financial background, so the communication and insights needs to be effective enough for them to understand the financial perspective of this expansion plan. So I selected some dashboards and some graphs which will help me to effectively communicate the message across. First, I've taken the actual sales revenue versus the forecasted with the expansion plan of Leafy. If you may see, the orange line which indicates the historicals of Leafy, and the yellow line, which indicates the forecasted of the historical, based on the historicals of Leafy, and also with the extension model, which comes out with the expansion of Leafy restaurant. So if you may see, the end point of the actual sales data, which is 15,479, has been increased to a 20,000 amount because we amalgamated the survey output and forecasted the sales revenue at that point, which says there is a positive impact on sales revenues of Leafy. The second part of the dashboard is analyzing the key revenue drivers, just to prove to Leafy that these are revenues that actually have an impact on sales revenue of Leafy, and if they are willing to change their business model or their expansion plans, they need to be focused on these revenue drivers. First one is meal beans between 6 to 10. If you see the bracket, if you see the bracket which is falling in between 6 to 10 pounds meal bracket, 10% to 100%, which is about 90% of the consumers coming from the potential survey output, is willing to pay this price. And if you see less than GBP 5, which naturally, I mean, everyone would love to have a cheaper price, but given the market of Leafy, which dominantly serves healthy meals, they are willing to higher price to get that healthy outcome out of those meals. And between 11 to 15 GBP, it's slightly lower because people are more concerned about the price that they pay for the meal. And also, if you check the frequency per week versus the gender, if you may see, being a female customer would drive revenues of Leafy and would have a higher impact on revenues of Leafy. Revenue versus price per meal. If you may see, most of the revenue that is forecasted by the output of the survey is impacted by the price bracket of GBP 6 to 10, between 6 to 10. And also the customer preference. This is important because of the next action that Leafy may take after concluding that the expansion adds on to their revenue and is profitable for them. Customer preference, get it delivered or walk to the restaurant and buy and eat. Higher preference is to walk to a restaurant and buy and eat. Why? Because Leafy is serving healthy meals and everyone would like to see it and feel the freshness of it and eat it then and there. So most of the potential customers of Hatfield population prefers to walk into a restaurant, which signals to Leafy you need to open a restaurant outlet in Hatfield, rather extending their existing delivery system to Hatfield. The approaching customers is what is derived by the expansion model. But however, expansion doesn't only stop there, because Leafy at this moment needs to build its brand image as well. The more you see the Leafy brand around the country, the more you would recommend and the more you would go for that restaurant chain. Also, if you take the geographical spread, at the moment, potentially with the Hatfield location, they are only located in two locations geographically, which is quite low for a restaurant like Leafy. Also, further analyzing the survey results, this graph is a heat map which shows the correlation between the variables that would impact the revenues of Leafy. When interpreting the outcome and the forecast from the survey outcome, we saw that the revenues of Leafy has a positive impact from the potential geographical expansion. And it not only just in revenue that has gone up by 40%, but also Leafy is growing from their operational perspective, which is employing more and more staff members to them, and also the customer reach, which is about 50 from the existing customer base of 250. This is based on the survey output only. When verifying this model, it's important to see the accuracy of the forecast versus the actual. So we compared the actual and the prediction on a Python platform to determine the R2 coefficient of determination, which signifies the compatibility of the prediction when compared with actual. In concluding this project, I would recommend Leafy to take this model into their investigations and investigate on the next geographical location that they should expand, because this model provides enough and more data that would support their strategic decision in expansions. Why? This takes in the potential customer base input, and also they forecast their sales revenue with the potential of Leafy being able to match their KPIs against the potential locations performance, and which, if you take this test sample, Hatfield, they had provided evidence of increase of output, increase in sales revenues, and the operations of Leafy with an advancement of their brand image. It is recommended that Leafy should enhance their expansions and enhance their geographical locations. As a restaurant chain, that they would need to capture the niche market that they have in hand. Also, it is recommended that they use this model to test and verify the geographical location and to break that hesitant that they have in their sales. After this, I would also recommend Leafy to enhance this model a step forward by doing a feasibility study which amalgamates cost and the competition around the geographical location before they actually move into their location. I would recommend as the next steps for Leafy as to select a populated area and then do a test run through a mobile restaurant platform, which gives them a taste, gives the respondents a taste of your food before getting the responses. I think the survey would be more successful by letting them have a taste of their food, and then collect responses through the online survey or informal chats on the premises. Then input the survey output to the model that we just talked about. Get the forecasted revenue, compare it with your KPIs, and see if it's compatible. And then see whether the clients would prefer to have a restaurant, or would they prefer to be delivered to their homes. After everything else, then move on to the extended version of the model to check the feasibility study to verify your decision first. Feedback is something important for a consultant like me. Getting this feedback from Leafy meant a lot for me, and also had a lot of inputs and had a lot of motivation to go ahead with my career as a consultant. It has been a tremendous journey throughout these 9 months with this project with Leafy. Leafy management has been very supportive and very open to me in terms of their business and in terms of the experience that I needed. And also, Leafy is an industry that I've never stepped in before, and it added a lot of experience and it added a lot of knowledge to my professional career. This has been a journey that I learned a lot of things and I experienced a lot of things, and I shared my knowledge with the rest of the expertise in the field. I value these 9 months as a professional and as a student of the University of Hertfordshire. Throughout this project, I've learned a lot, and my key lessons are: plan versus actually could be different, but you just need to accept it. And also, the time and effort estimation and the management of it is critical in a project like this. Survey versus responses, you might be discouraged by the response rate that you have, but it's natural, people not to respond and people not to come back with the outcome. Also, the response collection versus being actual could be a difference between the reality and the prediction, but that's how it is, and it is an assumption that we made throughout the project, and we need to just adopt to it and accept it. Adjustments are natural. We need to adjust and execute the plan, but not the objective. You need to make sure that you achieve the objective, but you can do adjustments throughout your execution plan. Practical ways of delivering things, you need to figure out things to deliver, and not to plan a lot of things ahead, but also to make sure that it's a practical thing that you deliver. And communication was key when it comes to myself and Leafy, because we had a lot of things going on and we disagreed and we agreed on things and we sort of planned things together. So communication was the key in this project for me. And also, this experience was a milestone in my life, which I would value for the rest of my professional career. These are the references and the annexures respectively that I used in this presentation today. Also, thank you very much for being here today and for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something out of it. Please leave your feedback and encouragements for a consultant like me. Thank you.